Let's talk about Candice's apology.
Um, okay. So first of all, I would like to give two disclaimers. The first disclaimer is I would love to hear what Kariki's perspective is on this before y'all's, if she would like to share before y'all. The second one is that this apology is from me and not from all the females. So, so
From who? Not from who?
the
Oh
females,
wow, interesting.
very. Um, I don't remember what the post was that we saw that prompted this apology. It was something that was, if anybody remembers, just say something. Um, there was something about, it was like a meme, but it was a pretty egregious statement by a woman who essentially, it looked to me, wanted a man to have done something for her consistently, but she had not at all let him in on the fact that it was something that she desired or would be helpful to her. And she was pretty much prepared to just like cancel him and put him off to the side on account of that. It was very egregious though. Like it wasn't that basic. It was something that was like, and then F him and all of y'all because of this. I shouldn't have to say, pretty much. It was not only that the meme existed, but also the comments were like it ended up having to be that the comments were disabled because there were so many of people responding with exactly, yes, right, exactly. And even some dudes underneath,
Period.
period, poo. And even some dudes underneath being like, yeah, you shouldn't have to go through this. Um, but it just didn't feel like you shouldn't have to go through this situation to me, only because she had been overt about the fact that I'm not telling a dude to do this for me, and it wasn't like a basic thing either. So anyway, my thought when I saw it was there really is a culture in a lot of space, not just in women's space, but in men's space, where some of us have been taught that men are supposed to do certain things for us without us having to say so, or without us having to express our desires or our feelings around a thing. And I just, for once, thought about how that might feel from the male perspective, and I felt bad about it because I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want the expectation that I was doing something that I didn't know was desired of me to be done. And then not only was I held accountable for it in like a conversation that was ongoing, but I also was like completely wiped off the mat because I didn't do it and I didn't know. Like I didn't even have a chance to come back from it. And all the females were canceled too because I didn't do this thing. So I have some ideas culturally about where that idea that men should do certain things comes from without women's explanation. But I would like to apologize for the time that I believe I might have carried on some of that idea consciously or subconsciously without being willing or desiring to converse about it or explain anything that might be helpful. I think there are lots of other options in how to converse and how to get a point across and even how to respond, up to and including, at the very minimum, communication about this didn't work for me so that we can figure out what to do from there. But just canceling somebody entirely for doing that, I think as a like a person, period, is not cool. And it looks to me like it happens in y'all space a lot of time. Um, just in the particular dynamic between a woman you might be romantically interested in and yourself. So there are many things like this. I think that men also, unfortunately, ways men respond to women that are similarly unhelpful. But this is a thing that I definitely saw from the other side.
So I think it's unfair. That's the first thing I'm going to say. It's unfair that someone would expect someone else to know what they want without expressing it verbally that they want that thing. I mean, and then canceling them because they didn't give them that thing. I don't think that that's fair. One, we weren't all raised in the same house. So you can't expect that how this man or woman was raised to be the same as how maybe your brother was raised. And maybe your dad said you need to do these things for a woman. And then also for a woman, like, what if I don't want those things that your dad told you that a woman needs or wants? And then also, I wouldn't want someone to have expectations that I'm going to do certain things because I'm a woman, when I wouldn't say that I'm the traditional, woman. Like, I don't do those traditional things that someone may want me to do unless they tell me out of their mouth, like, I like when you do this. So I don't think it's fair for someone to just cancel someone if they didn't know. I mean, for those of us who go to therapy, it is very encouraged that you use your words and say, I would like this. I like when you do this. Or something simple, like, I like flowers. I like when you bring me flowers all the time. Like, don't just bring me flowers on Valentine's Day. I like flowers every Friday. Like, say that. People won't know that that's what you want unless you actually say that. How am I supposed to know that you want that? How would I know that you don't like to pump your gas or wash your car? I'm speaking from the man side. How do I know that you don't like to take the trash out? Like, I don't know that if you don't say something. I don't think it's fair. And it's very important, therapy plug, that everyone go to therapy and get these tools to use in their toolbox. I think it will help with a lot of relationships and communication, because that's where it ends. If you can't communicate that you want something or that you don't like something, then maybe you just aren't ready to be in a relationship at all with anybody. That's all I have for now. I would like to apologize too, though, because I do know in my younger age, I had expectations that some people were supposed to do things for me, and I never verbalized any of that. So I apologize.
Since we on the apology tour, Wayne, Chew, y'all got some apologies over there y'all want to get off?
Hell nah, I ain't apologizing for nothing. The end.
I'm good.
It's okay. The apologies was offered unto you, so you could just receive it if you please.
Oh yeah,
Now that,
yes.
ladies,
Oh yeah.
I do appreciate. Yeah, I do appreciate you sharing your insights and how those things have been made known unto you. I appreciate those thoughts, and KP, I'm sure that those people that walked in your path during that time frame, if they stumble across Big Baby's pod, they will appreciate that as well.
Send them the
Chew, I'm gonna
link.
let you converse first.
No, you got it. I'm just sitting back on this.
Adam, you don't want to bite yet?
I mean, for one, I think it's noble and honorable to have two women here apologizing, unprovoked, by the way. Because there's another social media running joke that women don't apologize, which I think is nonsense. It's not been my experience. Maybe I've been around some nice women, some women who were in touch with themselves. Maybe they went to therapy or something, because I've had a fair share of women apologize to me for things that they did or didn't do, and so on. But yeah, I, thanks for the apology, Candice, because I tell you what, when I was younger in life, moving, shaking out here in these streets, trying to figure shit out, it's like, hey, closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't tell me what you want, you don't tell me what you need, you don't tell me like this bothers you, I'm not gonna know to stop it. I'm not Miss Cleo. I don't read minds. I don't do tarot cards. I can't tell you what your energy is. You know what I mean? On the 14th day of the lunar polar eclipse and all of that shit. But all I can do is go off of what you tell me and what you respond to. So if you are still here occupying my space and allow me into your space, that means that whatever I'm doing is good enough to want you to keep coming back. So I'm going to continue carrying myself in that way. But if all of a sudden something bothers you and then you just want to like cut something off, I think it's just immature, and it takes us into this I can love you to death and never speak to you again. Can you? Like is that loving? Are you Do you truly love that individual to death, or do they just have a place in your heart? You know what I mean?
I think that's where it stems from. It stems from, I respect you as a person. I appreciate who you are. I admire you. However, there are certain things that I expect and demand of you that you are not capable of presenting. Therefore, with all the love for the things that you do bring to the table, I'm going to have to remove myself from your presence. I think that's a part of it. But that's also feeding into the relearning love conversation that we got to put some time into.
What is love? I
Are you,
think
go ahead.
I think that we use the word love so loosely, right? And we generalize. It's a general term that has so many different meanings because the love that you have for friends and the love that you have for family and the love that you have for a significant other is so different, but you're using the same word. And we all we all view love differently, even though it may mean the same thing to us, right? So let me see. So you may use love as your word to separate your feelings for people, right? So the people that you feel most strongly about, you love. But how is it that you love, and what is your expectation for what love is? Because you can meet someone else who y'all share the same strong feelings and love for each other, but the way in which you carry out those actions are totally different, and to have you feeling or could have them feeling as if the love isn't there because they're judging you off of their definition of love instead of your definition of love.
So, yeah, we stand in agreement in reference to some of the things that could be a divide in the perception that's on there. The idea of love in the English language is very different than it is in, as some would allude to, the Greek language and the original love languages, and even in Latin. We in our form of English language, we don't have a lot of words pertaining to love, but there are other languages that do, that describe your brotherly love, your familial love, your erotic love. Um, to say what it is in a nutshell is a daunting task, because there are things that I might describe as an emotion or an affection towards someone that isn't necessarily what I would consider love. Case in point, for Travis, for Adam, I admire and respect your opinions, your stance, your journeys, your upbringing, how you all handle yourselves in conversations, when you walk in the rooms, your personality, your energy. I admire and I respect those things. I can admire and respect those things without necessarily loving them. However, some would argue that you cannot love something without the admiration and respect. So my battle, as I try to identify love in the traditional English sense, is it requires an abundance of words just to make it make sense.
Yeah, I think that the word love in the English language, we use it for so many different things. You can quickly say, I love food or I love a movie, but do you really love it, or you just like strongly like it, you know? And then I think for love, everyone has their own personal definition of what it is, and not everybody actually knows what that is for themselves. So it's a big question. What is love? And it's something that everybody has to figure out, I think, on their own. What does love look like to you? Like, what are your expectations for love? And what are you going to give to other people? What level of love are you going to get? Candice and I had this conversation on Thursday. That was what my whole Bible study was about that I
I
taught.
was just about to say.
It's so weird. So basically, that's what I asked everybody to do, is like go home this week and figure out what your personal definition of love is, because it's different, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, and I think
If you
another
don't
thing with
mind,
that, go ahead.
I was gonna ask KP if you don't mind, when y'all do that return thing, if that's something that other humans can jump in on for eavesdropping purposes, I'd love to be a part of it.
All are welcome in the kingdom.
But yeah, I'll say another thing along the lines of that, us figuring out what is love. A lot of times we gotta understand or get a good idea of, knowing that a lot of things that we think we love are actually like bad addictions. Some people say they love food, but it's past love to it. The way you're using it is unhealthy. And you can say that for relationships, you can say that for weed, alcohol, a lot of different things. For social media, you think you love it, but you're probably addicted to it. So you really gotta understand, is it love or is it something that you're addicted to and that's actually harmful to you?
Yeah,
You
I
struck
like
a
where you're going with that conversation. Go ahead, Al.
I don't really have anything for it, because I'm starting to think like, you start thinking about people's relationships now, right? Like specifically where they quote unquote love each other, but they treat each other like shit, but they keep coming back. And it is an addiction. And then it kind of triggered me a little bit, because I used to refer to myself as crack. I'm good to you, but I'm awful for you.
I think
Boy, you have.
you just spoke a reverse word to yourself.
I mean, it's where I was at in life. It wasn't wrong. But nonetheless, I think the love versus addiction conversation is an important conversation, because how often do we really think of stuff that way? Like, oh, I'm addicted to this person, or you hear the jokes like, I'm addicted to the dick, or I'm addicted to the pussy. You know what I mean? Like, you hear people say it, but then you don't really like look at it and evaluate it as a addiction, like a toxic addiction, like addiction, like fame, attention, drugs, gambling, whatever that case may be. We don't think about it like that, but we have these toxic addictions to people. And is there really rehab for that?
I feel like an early rehab step is exactly what, like Kariki said, we're doing as an activity in her Bible study with Rooted Wellness this week. I think it's helpful to figure out what your definition of love is, not necessary. And I know that exercise is going to be different for everybody, but I just think it's determining what your definition of love is may be different from what your definition of love should be. So if you're really honest with yourself about doing that exploration, what is my definition of love? Like, if you really take that seriously, you can come up with, like, a lot of things may reveal themselves to you as perhaps actually addictions, rather than things that describe love. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, so we just talked about food here. We talked about food there in Bible study too, right? You asked the question, Kariki, what's your favorite food? And then what feeling does it give you? And then why do you feel like that when you eat the food? Like, and I think about doing the exploration of what your definition of love is, like that. My definition of love is people speaking kindly to me. Why? What does that make you feel like when they do that? I feel respected. Okay, that sounds pretty healthy. My definition of love is someone um, texting me they get home every night. What do I feel when that happens that I like? I feel validated. There might be more questions there. Maybe the validation is fair. Maybe it's a little, I don't know. And I think you can feel that if you really get into the activity and maybe even like involve somebody in asking for their help.
And then we also talked about like what benefit, what like when if you love something or somebody, is there some benefit that you're getting? Are you only loving them because you get something in return? Like, is that your true definition of love because you're getting something in return, or do you just love them as they are?
Yeah.
I think every relationship that we have with people, we get something in return for it. And if we didn't get anything in return from that relationship, we wouldn't have the relationship because it would make absolutely no sense. And it's a kind of a cruel way to put relationships, but you get something out of it. If we didn't get anything out of having conversations together, we wouldn't have the conversations. Whether it's the love that we receive from the people, whether it's the information that we receive from the people, whether it's the status that we receive from the people, whether it's the physical feelings that we get from those people, whatever it is, every relationship has a something I we all gain something from relationships. Now, do we need what we're getting from that relationship? That's another question. But we are all in all of our relationships are self-interested, even if we don't have our best self-interest at heart.
Well said, young fella. Well said.